What's up, y'all? Welcome to my channel. It's Mulatto American. I saw this video that Mulatto Pariah uploaded about a month ago about how attractive people face rejection and loneliness, among other things, out of jealousy and spite. And this video really spoke to me. So I wanted to expand on it. And shout out to Pariah. If you haven't already, you should check out his channel. I like a lot of the stuff he puts out. So in this video, basically the gist is that people try to humble attractive people. They try to sabotage you out of spite and reject you socially. They want you to have like a bad social life. They want you to have a bad dating or love life. And eventually, like, they don't even want people like us, like attractive and mulatto people, to be able to get employment. And they basically team up to keep the attractive people down and the mulattoes down. And I have to say that this is true. And it also expands into other areas of society. So there has been an effort to diminish authority and to put everyone on the same playing field so that people who are better off, now they have to compete with people who are lacking, people who are untalented, who are unskilled, who are lazy. That's what this whole equality and equity thing is all about. Because at first, they were fighting for equality. Now they're fighting for equity, which they say is fair opportunities. Everyone gets the same opportunities. But first, how can that even be possible? Because the opportunities that you have are based on a lot of different factors, but a lot of them include how disciplined you are, how intelligent you are, how you look, who you know, the relationships you have with people, the reputation you have within your community. Because these people, these unattractive, these lazy people, these unskilled people that are just aimless in life, you know, the kind I'm talking about, they feel very threatened. You know, they're always threatened by everything. That's why they have to turn every little molehill into a mountain. So in this case, they're very sensitive when they feel like society is moving past them, when they're about to be forgotten or their needs aren't going to be met. So that's why they push this whole equity thing, because they know that they cannot compete intellectually. They can't compete physically. They can't compete in so many different areas. So what they do is they come up with equity and try to weaponize it. And then you actually have some people that fall for it. But I'm going to go more into depth on that later on in the video. But right now, I'm going to use a few examples on how this whole, like, people trying to keep attractive people down, how it really expands into different areas of life, of society, because it's not just attractiveness, though that does play a big part in it. But anyway, moving into the first example. So they try to diminish authority and keep everyone on the same playing field by attacking the teachers. So back before the No Child Gets Left Behind thing, teachers were able to set their own curriculum. And at least this is what I've been told, because most of what I even remember was post No Child Gets Left Behind. But from what I've heard from older people, that it was the norm for teachers to be able to set their own curriculum, or at least have more control over it. So they could say, you know, they want to maybe show this movie, or they want to bring up this topic, and kind of just differentiate themselves from other teachers. But after No Child Left Behind, then that's when teachers lost the ability to curate their own curriculum and have more of a say in what gets taught and how they teach it and when. And then when students act up, then the teachers, they can't even do anything. So it was like they're in the class, but it's not their classroom. And so this basically reinforces the idea that you don't have to put in any effort. Like, you just show up to class and you can do whatever you want, and you can get so low as like a D minus and still advance to the next grade. Like in my high school, that's how it was. Like, you could get all D's in all 8 classes and you would be able to advance to the next grade and graduate. And it happens in college too. So they're just lowering standards all around. And what that does is, now when people go into the workforce, now you have the people that are actually intelligent, that actually have skills and are disciplined. Now they're put in a position where they have to compete with people who don't have those qualities. But because their transcripts and their records say, oh, well, you guys are pretty much at the same level because, you got this diploma, you got this degree, and that's all they really see, then now they're forced to compete with each other. So they're doing this to dumb down the population, but also because they want to be able to rise to the top. Because, if everyone is performing average or below average, then it's way easier for them to rise to a higher position in society and to control these people. And then they try to diminish people's authority. So especially in the workplace, like if you're attractive and mulatto or intelligent, you have all that going for you, and you're in a position of authority, and these people, they're going to hate you, they're going to resent you, and they're going to try to kick you out of there, So what Pariah speaks about in his video, how these people, they don't want attractive people to have jobs. That's true. I can actually speak to that because, and I've left comments about this before under videos, but basically, like, my most recent job, I was a manager at a store, and these people, like, they just disliked me for no reason. It was like crazy. They just, at first it seemed like they liked me or whatever, and then it just switched. Then they started like reporting me to my manager over petty, trivial things, and it was revealed to me by one of my subordinates after we like had talked through some things. Then he told me that the other people, that they were purposefully reporting me because they thought if they just keep complaining about me, then I'll get fired. And I mean, that's not even what ended up happening, because I ended up just quitting, in pursuit of better things because I had something else lined up. This was definitely because of what Pariah talks about. They made some comments, which I'll put in a different video, but they made some comments to let it be known why they were so antagonistic. Honestly, like, they did that because they perceived me as being better than them. They never used that phrase, at least to me, but when they started like listing out their grievances, they were saying the same things that basically everybody else complains about when they feel like you're better than them. I know as mulattoes, we can especially relate to that. Dealing with the Black community, then you'll get the, oh, you think you're better. And then they'll give like this whole rundown of, what they don't like about you and why they think that you think you're better than them. Like, they basically did the same thing. And this was a store of mostly like almost all white people. And speaking more about the workforce, That's why people who are skilled or working and show results, that's why they end up being targeted in the workplace, because they expose everyone else and everyone else gets jealous. They can see your potential and they try to sabotage you. They don't like, because when they see someone who's better, now you become the standard. And so it messes with them psychologically when they see they can't reach that standard. Because truth be told, like, a lot of people, they just don't have the capacity to perform well, to excel, to do all of these things that I just listed in this video. Like, they just don't have the capacity. And so that's why, they try to tear down other people who do possess these valuable traits. And so I bring this up on this channel because I know that a lot of mulattoes can relate to this. I know that, because mulattoes, like, we're attractive people. And a lot of us are skilled and hardworking. Like, a lot of us are talented, whether it be in athletics, fighting, or music, the arts, etc. That's why this generation, we see so many mulattoes popping up in the mainstream media and making a name for themselves. And, a lot of us, like, we're intelligent. And I saw in, like, one other person's video in this community that mulattoes have, like, a higher IQ than both blacks and whites. But regardless of that, I mean, we're very intelligent. We tend to be intelligent people. And we're skilled. We're hard workers. I mean, because look at all the work that mulattoes have put into other communities for all these decades, and helping people get their so-called rights. But even regardless of all that, we're very just skilled people. And it's very easy for us to become accomplished, become successful and well-known people, as long as we don't have, like, a bunch of haters, like, trying to delay us and block our paths. And I know a lot of mulattoes can relate to the whole, like, you think you're better than us, like, especially if you grew up in a certain community. I don't think I have to say which one, but honestly, like, I've heard people from, like, all different races say that, like, at one point or another, whether it was to a mulatto or to their own kind. But I think as mulattoes, we get it more because we're never really in our own community. We're always in somebody else's spaces and communities. And so they feel threatened when we represent a higher standard. And I know, like, the crazy thing is, in school, I know a lot of us were taught, like, don't think you're better than everyone because everyone's equal. But that's not true. And what I've noticed is that the people who are intelligent and who have it going on for them, like, they're attractive, they're skilled, they're a fast learner, whatever have you, when they're taught this in school, they're the only ones who believe it. They're the only ones who actually go around thinking, like, yeah, everyone's equal and they're not better than anybody and nobody's better than them. But meanwhile, the people that can't compete, who are just, aimless in life, they're junkies, they're haters, they're whatever, they know when someone is better. Like, they don't believe all that. They might act like they do, but then once they click up, and they'll be like, yeah, that's BS. And then they start gossiping about the people who are actually better and start plotting how to sabotage you. And so it's crazy because you have these people who should really be living a better quality of life. Like, they should actually be revered in society, but they let people step on them. Like, they let people get away with all these slights and people literally trying to hurt them, people trying to sabotage them and take what belongs to them, like stealing from them. And then they see these people, they don't do anything because they've been taught that they better not go around thinking they're better than anyone. So they just like tame their own fire and say, well, they should just like let it go or move on or like, be the bigger person. And, because they don't want to do too much. They don't want to look arrogant. But meanwhile, these people, they don't care. They just do whatever. Like you have these people are literally taking their credit. Like they'll hear the better person say something or have an idea or do something. And then the next thing you know, you see one of these losers presenting it in front of everybody as if it was their own idea. And so they get the credit. And then the better person just doesn't even say anything, just lets it go, lets it happen because they're like, well, they don't want to seem conceited. And like, why does it matter if they thought of it first? It's just for the ideas for the benefit of the team. Like, no. See, this is how, certain people that have these qualities, they get stepped on and they get pushed out. And now you have it to where these people who are better, who should be respected within their communities, now you have them just staying indoors, barely going outside because they look outside and they see it's overrun by all these uncouth people. They're like, they don't know when they're going to get attacked. They don't know the next time what's going to happen to them, or they'll have to stand up for themselves or be put in all these crazy type of situations. So they're like, you know what? They'll just stay indoors. And then they just, withdraw and keep all their talents to themselves. Which is like, it could work out now that you can literally have a career, like make your own business through your own phone. But, it's not right for people to feel like they have to stay indoors and hide because the world is just so overrun with these wicked and uncouth people. And, it's crazy because a lot of these people, they complain and say that society needs to be better, that their community needs to be better, that they just need somebody who can come in and just help and make things better, who has that, ability. But then when they see someone who actually has the ability to do that, then they try to cut you down and reject you. And us as mulattoes, we know this all too well. Like being in the Black community, we always hear, you think you're better. Don't go around thinking that you're better than us, right? When it's like you're literally just there. And but truth be told, you are better because it's like, well, why would everyone keep saying that? But at the same time, then they want you to be an advocate for their community because you're more presentable, as they say, because you have like European features or proximity to whiteness. Basically, they're just trying to say because you're more attractive. And that's basically what they're trying to say. Because we look more appealing, just in general, and to the eyes of people that they're trying to gain favor from. So they want us to be their advocate because we're more presentable, as they say, and because we're more articulate, because a lot of us, like, we tend to be more educated than them, and it shows in the way we speak, the way we carry ourselves, our vocabulary, and because we tend to be more skilled, more hardworking and talented. So they want us to use all of our talents to help them, to be an advocate for them. But then at the same time, they don't want us to think that we're better. And then they'll say, you can't speak on behalf of our community, but you literally want us to be your advocate. And you think it's okay to speak on us. So I think it's important for people to know this, whether you're attractive and a mulatto or just mixed race. Because like Pariah said, you know, I'm sure there are attractive monoracials who go through this too. But I'm speaking to my audience, the mulattoes, because that's my experience and that's what I can speak on and that's what I want to speak on. Because, you know, that's why you see, for example, the whole modeling thing, like how some females spoke up and they said that modeling is offensive because not everybody has the same body and, you know, that dumb stuff. And so basically, they brought it down to where anybody can be a model. Like you could be obese and be a model, overweight, and, you know, like even be unattractive. And you can be a model. That's why in this day and age, it seems like everybody you come across is like, oh yeah, they're a model. And if you don't come across them in real life, then you see them online, like on these dating shows and whatnot. All of a sudden, everybody's a model because they're intimidated by actual beauty. They're jealous of actual models. And so that's why they're trying to make it level and make it so where the people who actually possess these valuable traits, they're going to get passed over for someone else who can't even compare. Because, you know, they'll go to an actual model, like someone who could actually be a model, and say, well, how do you represent diversity? Or how do you feel about different body sizes? And how can you reach that audience? And, you know, ask all these dumb questions, knowing that that person can't really relate or answer, just so they can have a reason to boot you out and be like, oh, sorry, like we had to give it to somebody else because you didn't embody our cultural values, you know. And they do the same thing at work too. And I don't know if they actually do that with models specifically, but I'm just using that as an example that you could use for other workplaces and career fields, because I know, like from my experience, they actually ask those type of questions when you're trying to get a job that doesn't even have to do with any of that, you know, because they're testing you to see, are you a cultural fit? And so they start asking you all these like equity type questions, basically to see if you're like in their group, you know. And then if you show up and first of all, you look different from them, like you're attractive and then you're a mulatto, and then you're answering the questions like, you know, obviously this person doesn't care. They're not a part of our group. Now they can have a reason to just get rid of you and say, oh, sorry, we can't hire you because of cultural fit. And, you know, it's one of those things that sounds crazy, you know, because you can't believe people actually think and operate this way. But, you know, a lot of people are just depraved and they're envious and jealous. And I mean, they just have nothing going for them. So that's why I believe it is imperative for mulattoes to start their own businesses, to just have your own thing going, or to just be self-employed. You know, don't rely on anybody. Don't rely on the government. Don't rely on these people who detest you. You know, these people that want to hurt you and cut you down. They just want to keep you around so you can be their little lapdog, so you can be their little canine. When they need extra numbers, then they can go call you up and then you show up at the protest. And that's why I believe like mulattoes are like, we're just better off if we go to another country. You know, like we can still keep our citizenship here in America because there are benefits to that. But the way that I see things going in America is just going downhill. And then when you factor in the whole like mulatto consciousness, because a lot of people are waking up ever since the whole Drake thing, a lot of people have been waking up and pushing back. And now we're really starting to see people's true colors, like, wow, this is how they view us. This is the place that they want us to be in society. And then on top of that, you're attractive, you're intelligent, you're well spoken, you're skilled and talented. It's like, no way. Because, you don't know. It's just too much risk. It's just too much risk. It's too much stress to always feel like you don't have a place to go to vent your experiences or to just belong and commune with people. So, I just feel like it's better to just move to a different country. But I'll go into that more in a different video. So for those of you who relate, want to add your own opinions to this, go ahead and leave your comments down below, especially if you're a mulatto. I know a lot of us can relate to this. And if you want to hear more content, like and subscribe. See you guys in the next video.